What's going on, guys, and welcome back to my AEW Collision review here today for July 8th, 2023. I am Graham G. Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great weekend so far. Another strong Collision last night. Thought last week was the weakest yet. Not a bad show, just weaker than the first 2 weeks. The fourth week was a great one, and honestly, probably the best show yet. We had a really good tag team match, and a pretty good main event as well. We had a pretty good tag team match in the middle, a very enjoyable main event, progression towards matches for next week and other stuff going on. Unfortunately, we had the Women's Owen Hart Cup semifinal match between Athena and Willow Nightingale delayed until next week's Rampage due to an injury to Willow, and hopefully she's cleared in time for Rampage. They kind of made it seem like with what Athena said that, I mean, they're doing it as late as possible. They're not even doing it on Dynamite because they want to get, I assume Rampage is probably, if they're taping Rampage on Wednesday, I'm not really sure why they wouldn't just do the fucking match on Wednesday, but whatever. Maybe they just have a full slate or whatever. But anyway, I guess they're giving Willow as much time as possible to get cleared from whatever injury she suffered in a recent match, I think over in New Japan, that she suffered over in Japan during one of her recent title defenses. She actually lost the New Japan Women's Championship, the Strong Women's title. I did not know that until I saw her here, and then Athena mentioned, oh, you lost your title to Julia or whatever. I did not know that. So anyway, Athena and Willow Nightingale was not on the show. Even without that match, this was still a superb edition of Collision. And like I said last week, already, 4 weeks in, already my favorite wrestling show of the week. More than Raw, SmackDown, and I was at SmackDown on Friday. Had a great time. But more so than Raw, definitely more so than Raw. More so than SmackDown, even Dynamite, or really, and I watch a lot of Wrestling Weekly, Collision is already my favorite show of the week. This was a great episode. I love the structure. I love the opening promos that they open the episode with from the combatants in the Owen Hart Cup. I don't know how long that's going to stick for. They might just ditch that at some point. For now, it's cool. The intro and how they incorporate different people on the episode. Credit to Will Washington for pointing that out on Twitter. I mean, he works there, obviously, but he pointed that out a week or two ago that, that they changed the intro weekly based on who's going to be featured on that show. So that's pretty sick. And I noticed that this week, and I thought that was really cool. It's just a really concise 2 hours of wrestling, including one outstanding tag team match. So let's not waste any time here. Let's get right into it. CM Punk opening the episode. We heard from Punk backstage quickly, along with Joe, along with Hobbs and Ricky Starks, again, hyping up the men's quarterfinal, or rather semifinal matches, and the Owen Hart Cup this week on Collision. And then Punk said, fuck it, I'm going out to the ring. And he went out to the ring, not even to his own music. He came out to the Billy Joel theme song for Collision, which was great. Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting, which I was already aware of the song, but I've just fallen in love with it since they started using it for this show. I already liked the song, but I think it's just such a great fit for this program. But this was exactly what I was hoping they would do before we got Punk and Joe for the first time in AEW. Now, not exactly in the sense that I was hoping for a face-off and a promo battle between the two before they went one-on-one for the first time. Now, they did interact in that 8-man tag 3 weeks ago, but this was their first one-on-one match, I think, since 2005 or 2006. They've had a lot of matches across the independent scene, including 3 in Ring of Honor. Punk, prior to this episode, spoiler alert, he beat him in the main event. He had never beaten Joe before. So I loved how they already acknowledged that in the commercials and the hype for the match and whatever. We hadn't really heard from Punk about that, or Joe, I don't think. Joe may have mentioned it, or Punk probably mentioned it on commentary last week. I don't remember. But they really had a chance to make this match as meaningful as possible by having Punk go out there and talk about the match. He went out there in the opening segment. He didn't even go in the ring. He just walked around ringside. He posed with the trophy. He talked about how much this match means to him. He called it the biggest match of his career. Now, that was my only nitpick with the segment. That didn't make much fucking sense for as iconic of a career that Punk has had. I'm not even saying any WrestleMania match is more important than this, but any AEW match, I mean, come on. It's a fucking semifinal match in the Owen Hart Cup. I know never beating Joe has always bothered him, I guess, from a character standpoint, but it's still pretty silly. Nonetheless, I thought this was a strong opening to the show. Punk addressing Joe. Punk getting, for those curious, more favorable reactions this week compared to the last couple of weeks in Canada. They were more favorable towards Punk compared to the last couple of weeks. But a good promo hyping up the match. They put together a video package, including the footage from the Ring of Honor days and other independent promotions and whatever of all of their matches, and even little bits and pieces of promos they said about each other promos they cut on each other from back in the day from 20 years ago. Their first match ever together, apparently, according to Kevin Kelly in commentary, was 20 years ago in August. I think in Fairfield, Connecticut, actually. From right here in CT, I believe he mentioned. So that's pretty cool. Their first match in the show saw Ricky Starks take on his former tag team partner, which they did show in video package form, which was cool, Powerhouse Hobbs, in a men's Owen Hart Cup semifinal matchup. Good stuff here. Their Rampage match on Grand Slam last year, the no DQ match that was on a very fucking long show, was better than this, but it was still well worked. They had one unfortunate botch in the middle. They just never really got their footing here, but it was still a solid, well-worked match overall. Some inadvertent interference from QT Marshall actually cost Hobbs the win. So Hobbs is still coming out the QTV crap. I was hoping that wouldn't be the case. He fucking did here. He attacked Aaron Solo, but Harley Cameron, I want to say Harley Quinn, Harley Cameron, the one that's in love with Anthony Bowens, who already told her a couple of weeks ago on Rampage that he's gay. So the fact they're continuing is kind of funny. The QTV crap is still very fucking stupid. They're still coming out, so she stopped Hobbs from attacking QT. So I'm not sure if the split is official, but it should be soon. They're already using Johnny TV, the former John Morrison, Johnny Mundo, Johnny Impact, whatever the fuck you want to call him, John Hennigan, in the group. So, I mean, I just don't really understand, like, who gives a shit? I mean, why do they really need Hobbs in there? I mean, who gives a crap about the group in general? It's not doing John Morrison any favors, but it's certainly not doing Hobbs any favors either. So, I like the fact that we're getting closer to a split. Hopefully it's made official soon, if not here. So like I said, we were supposed to get Willow and Athena on the show, and due to an injury to Willow, that did not happen. It's happening on Rampage next week, and hopefully it happens as scheduled. I mean, realistically, and I think this happened last year when, I think this actually happened twice in last year's Women's Owen Hart Cup, where I think Red Velvet couldn't make a match, and she was maybe it was the same instance. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure Sheeta couldn't make an appearance. So Red Velvet, who was eliminated in the first round, came back for like the next round anyway. Was given a bye, and then she still got eliminated. She got eliminated twice. It might have happened twice in the tournament last year. I think it was just that once. But realistically, you would just have Athena go to the finals automatically. But this tells me, honestly, that they're going to have Willow beat Athena, which I was hoping they would do. Now, is it odd they would have Athena's first major appearance in an AEW show, I think all year, be a loss after they've been saying for many, many months, and she's undefeated, and she's been a great champion. Yeah, it is a little weird they wouldn't save that first loss to Athena for when she loses that championship, but it does build to a rubber match, like Athena said in the backstage segment here on the show, to Willow. She already beat Willow earlier this year on the second episode of Ring of Honor TV on Honor Club, and it was a great main event. So they're running it back next week, hopefully. Willow should win. If Willow wasn't going to go over, I don't know why they just wouldn't make the match official and why they just wouldn't have Athena advance anyway. If Athena wins next week, I don't know why you would have Willow lose twice anyway. I don't know. I think it's Willow's match to win. I think she's going to go on and win the whole thing if Ricky Starks is going to go on and win the men's tournament this year. Most likely, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But, yeah, so no Willow and Athena on the show. Instead, it was replaced by a quick Julia Hart match. We also heard from Malachi Black and the House of Black and Andrade talking about Andrade's mask. I don't really know why they wouldn't establish as Andrade's mask as being important prior to this program. It was always just a prop, so all of a sudden it's like sacred to Andrade. Like, okay, who gives a shit? So to fill the time that was left open with Athena and Willow being cut from the show, they put Julia Hart in the ring against some enhancement wrestler named Bambi Hall. Julia Hart won in a couple minutes, and that was it. Pretty basic, dark-esque squash match here. It wasn't bad. Julia Hart has improved, but all this praise for like, she's a star. She's going to be a future world champion is kind of nonsense. I would say 3/4 of AEW's women's division are better in the ring than Julia Hart is. She's not bad, but not everyone's going to be a fucking star. I don't think she's a future champ. She could be. She's like only 19, 20 years old. She's extremely young. She's certainly better than she was in her cheerleader days, and even when she first joined House of Black. I don't know if I see championship gold in her immediate future, but maybe some point further down the road. So this was what it was. But because that match got cut with Athena and Willow, I would have to assume that time was given largely to, and they couldn't have a show with no women on it, so they put Julia on the show, which was better than nothing, I guess. They gave that time dedicated to Athena and Willow, because that match was not going to go 2 minutes. they gave it to the tag team match. Jay White and Juice Robinson representing Bullet Club Gold, beating FTR in an AEW World Tag Team Championship Eliminator matchup. This was tremendous and one of the best TV matches I've seen all year. They went almost 30 minutes. 2, maybe 3 commercials, at least 2, I think. A lot of great near falls, awesome action. This is the FTR I miss. Now, I say miss, they're on TV every week, I get it, and they have quality matches. AEW has not really let these guys cook, as you would say, as the kids say now. They have not really let them let loose in a while. They came back and they won the AEW Tag Team titles. That was fucking 3 months ago. They've had one defense since then, and a shenanigan-filled bullshit match at Double or Nothing with Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. None of that nonsense. No, I want shit like this. This is what Collision should be for, and we got it here. Ton of time. All 4 guys shine. Crowd was into it. They had a very small crowd in Regina for this show, but they were fucking hot. They were hot for this show, for this match, rather, the end of the match. They were super into this. My only nitpick was the finish and the execution of the finish. It looked like they fucked up, and that Cash did not break up the pinfall in time. He didn't. That was done by design. I wish they made it more apparent that Jay White broke up the pin because it wasn't exactly obvious, so people were left a little confused. But beyond that, I thought this was great, and better yet, they're running it back next week already. This time, not only with the gold up for grabs, but a 2 out of 3 falls matchup. Jay White said, "We beat you a couple of weeks ago," and that was a 8-man tag team match. "We beat you tonight. We want to beat you twice in the same night." So what we're going to do is this. Next week, on Collision, they said Kevin Kelly, or I think it was Kevin Kelly, said on Battle of the Belts, which is happening after Collision next week. I mean, again, who could possibly fucking care? But they're going to be doing that next week. I'm pretty sure it's on Collision. Maybe it runs through Battle of the Belts and they started on Collision and they ended there. I mean, that's very possible. That would be clever. I mean, that would suck for anyone that recorded fucking Collision and not Battle of the Belts that he didn't get the finish in the match. But anyway, so he said, "Why don't we beat you twice in the same night in a 2 out of 3 falls match?" Your ground, basically, because FTR have had quite a bit of 2 out of 3 falls matches. I think they have in AEW. I'm trying to think, who else did they have a 2 out of 3 falls match with? They did with the Briscoes. I remember that, obviously. Death Before Dishonor last year. And they had a handful in WWE with Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. They had a 2 out of 3 falls match back at TakeOver Toronto, which was tremendous. They had one with American Alpha, actually, a couple months before that. Another great match. I don't know if they're undefeated in those matches. I know they beat the Briscoes in that match last year. Did they have another 2 out of 3 falls match that I'm just not remembering? There might have been at least 1 or 2 more. Maybe on the main roster, but again, I don't really remember. But anyway, so they're going to be doing that next week with Jay White, Juice, going after the gold. That should be awesome. Hopefully given even more time than this. It wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for the first fall here to end in 28 minutes. And then they have 3 falls end in like less than 28 minutes last week. That would be silly. So hopefully it does not fall to the stagnant formula that these matches usually do, but I have trust that FTR will make it work. I think Cash did say they're going to have a surprise next week. Now, they're in Calgary for next week's show. I don't think it's Bret Hart. I think he's probably under contract to WWE under a Legends deal or something. I mean, I could be wrong. I would love to be wrong. If it's not Bret Hart, I really have no fucking clue who else it could be. Probably some obscure Canadian legend. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Probably another cool Canadian legend, I joke. But I guess we'll find out next week. Scorpio Sky back in the ring for the first time in about a year, actually. He had not wrestled in almost exactly a year from when he lost the TNT Championship to Wardlow on Dynamite in early July of last year. Now, I know he was hurt. I just don't think they had any plans for him, which is why they didn't use him. He just completely disappeared from the show. But he's back now. He took on Action Andretti, who was a babyface. He shook Action's hand afterwards, so I don't know if he's supposed to be a babyface. I'm not really sure. Maybe that's the direction they're teasing for now, and they're going to turn him heel again. I don't know. This was a fine showcase for Sky. I think Sky is great. He's just at that territory now for me where I just don't give a fuck about the guy. He's been around since day one. They've not tried with him. It's not his fault. But like they turned him heel. They put him in the Ethan Page tag team, which I didn't really care about. I don't know. I mean, he was already in the tag team with SCU, which was great. But I don't know. I just feel like any future they had with Sky kind of went away a few years ago. I feel like if they were to push him now, it would be mid-card at best. I just don't see him as a main event level guy at this point. I feel like that ship sailed a long time ago. We'll see what they got cooking for him, though. Speaking of guys like that I just can't bring myself to care about at this point. Shawn Spears being another one. And they actually feuded at one point once upon a time a few years ago. Shawn Spears reemerged, I think, last week and challenged Christian, Luchasaurus, whatever, for the TNT Championship. We're going to be getting Luchasaurus and Shawn Spears for the title next week at Battle of the Belts. So if you were deciding whether or not to tune into the show after Collision, the answer is probably no. I mean, who gives a fuck about Shawn Spears? He's bringing back the chairman gimmick. Did he not just have the chairman gimmick like 6 months ago? I mean, stop. It's silly. Who could even care, like I said? But that's Battle of the Belts next week. The main event on this show, the semifinals, almost said the finals, of the Owen Hart Cup, the other side of the bracket. CM Punk taking on Ring of Honor World Television Champion Samoa Joe, non-title action. Real good match here, nice attention to detail, not a barn burner by any means, but I'm honestly kind of hoping they were holding back on purpose so they can, hold out for another match at some point down the road, which it seems like we're headed in that direction. Now, Joe lost, Punk won. But Joe attacked him afterward. Now, Punk, I think, is facing Starks next week on the show in the finals of the Owen Hart Cup. I don't think they're saving it for 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure it's next week, along with the finals of the women's tournament as well. I hope that Joe attacking Punk wasn't just their way of, softening Punk. And then, that's like Ricky. I kind of hope Ricky wins. Ricky needs it more than Punk does. I know Punk's whole thing a couple weeks ago was, I'm not going to lose until someone beats me for this belt I have in the bag, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? I mean, I think Ricky Starks should win. He needs it more. I don't like the idea that people have proposed of Ricky turning heel. I just don't think that's necessary, but maybe it's possible. I'm hoping, like I said, Joe didn't just attack Punk to, like I said, just to weaken him for that match and that's it. No, I hope it leads to a full-fledged feud. Yeah, Punk finally got one over on Joe. I don't want to say it was in fluky fashion, but it wasn't exactly decisive. They should have another match. Joe should win. They could do another match after that, and Punk can win that. I don't know. But I want a real promo battle between Punk and Joe. Not just trading shots and pre-tape promos, like a real promo battle in the ring and a hard-hitting affair. This was good, but I think they can do better. Even I know it's been 20 years since their first match, and they're not the people they used to be in the ring, whatever. There's a lot of miles in both of those bodies. But I still feel they're capable of an even better match than what they had here. Even though this was good, I think they're capable of better. And that was Collision again. It was a very quick 2 hours. I really enjoyed the show. Probably the best episode yet. They've done up Collision. The last couple of weeks have been good. Last week was the weakest of the bunch, like I said. This was a live show. That helped. Didn't have a big crowd, but they had a lively crowd in Regina, Canada last night. The main event was good, but go out of your way. Seek out the tag team match if you got 30 minutes to spare, or even if you don't, spare 30 minutes to watch that match because it's well worth it. And they got another loaded show coming up next week, like I said. I think it's the finals of both tournaments and the 2 out of 3 falls match for the tag team titles. Honestly, you could just have that be the entire fucking show. You can open... I mean, if they want to have the tag team title match closed, they probably should. But they can have the women open the show, do the tag title in the middle, and then do the men's Owen Hart Cup final in the main event. So, I don't know, whatever they want to do, but I mean, that to me, I know you're leaving off a lot of people on the show, but if I go 1 week without seeing Scorpio Sky in the ring, I think I'll be okay. But really enjoyed Collision this week. We'll probably keep the reviews going forward. If I have time here on Sundays and I have a chance to break down the shows, then I will. So subscribe for more Collision reviews. They're down in the description box down below. Be sure to check out my SmackDown on-site report from last night here on the channel, my SmackDown lowdown review from earlier today, and so much more here on the channel. Live reactions from SmackDown, interviews, Q&A videos, podcast excerpts, reviews, and so much more. Have an awesome one, guys. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.